hold on. Just give me 1 second before you scroll past this. If you've been dealing with persistent phlegm, you already know how exhausting it is. That constant need to clear your throat, that thick, stubborn mucus that seems to park itself right over your vocal cords and just refuse to leave. You've probably tried the usual suspects: decongestions from the pharmacy shelf, antihistamines, maybe even a nasal spray or two. And if you're watching this video, chances are none of it worked, at least not for long. Here's what most people don't know, and what most doctors don't tell you. The mucus you're battling in your throat isn't always coming from your nose or your lungs. There's a third source, one that's actually more common than both of those causes combined, and almost nobody talks about it. It's called silent reflux. And the reason it's called silent is because it doesn't feel like the typical acid reflux you've heard about. There's no dramatic burning in your chest, no obvious heartburn. Just that maddening, relentless sensation of mucus collecting at the back of your throat, making you clear it over and over again throughout the day without even realizing you're doing it. So, why is the mucus there in the first place? Here's the thing: your body is actually trying to protect you. It's not malfunctioning, it's doing exactly what it was designed to do. The mucus lining your vocal cords is acting as a shield, a biological barrier placed there deliberately by your body's defense system. To understand why, we need to look at something happening at a microscopic level: the enzyme nobody warned you about. Deep in your digestive system, there's a powerful enzyme called pepsin. Think about the last time you ate a thick steak or a hearty portion of grilled chicken. Pepsin is what breaks that protein down. It is arguably one of the most aggressive protein-digesting enzymes in the entire human body, designed specifically to dissolve meat and other dense proteins. Under normal circumstances, pepsin does its job exactly where it's supposed to: inside your stomach. Your stomach acid, which should register at a pH between 1 and 3, making it extremely acidic, triggers pepsin to activate and get to work. This is a tightly regulated system, and when it functions correctly, pepsin never leaves the stomach environment. But here's where the problem starts. Your stomach has two valves, one at the top, one at the bottom. When one or both of these valves stop closing properly, that enzyme can begin migrating upward. It can travel from your stomach, through your esophagus, and reach all the way up to your vocal cord area. And once pepsin gets there, something deeply problematic begins to happen. Pepsin doesn't discriminate. It breaks down protein. That's its only job. And your vocal cords and the delicate tissues surrounding them, they're made of protein. So when this enzyme arrives in a place it was never meant to be, it starts doing what it always does, and it begins breaking down your own tissues. That's why your body floods the area with mucus. The mucus is a protective coating, your body's desperate attempt to keep this enzyme from dissolving structures it has no business touching. Remove the mucus without addressing the underlying cause, and the enzyme wins. Why the valve fails? Now we have to ask the most important question. Why is the valve failing in the first place? Why isn't it keeping pepsin locked inside the stomach where it belongs? There are a few key culprits, and most of them are things we do every single day without a second thought. The first reason is something called small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, or SIBO. This is a condition where bacteria that should be living in your large intestine end up colonizing parts of your small intestine instead. When bacteria ferment food in the wrong place, they produce excess gas. That gas has to go somewhere, and it travels upward, through the stomach, against the valve, pushing it open from below. Over time, this constant gas pressure compromises the integrity of the valve and allows stomach contents to escape upward. The second reason, and arguably the more widespread one, has to do with stomach acid levels. This is where things get genuinely counterintuitive, and it's something that trips up a huge number of people. Most people assume that acid reflux happens because the stomach is producing too much acid. It seems logical on the surface. You feel burning, so there must be too much acid, right? But for a significant portion of people dealing with reflux and chronic phlegm, the opposite is true. Their stomach isn't acidic enough. Here's the biology behind it. Those valves we talked about, they're not just mechanical doors that open and shut on their own. They respond to chemical signals. The pH of the stomach environment is one of the most important signals they monitor. When stomach acid is at the right level, that pH of 1 to 3, the valves receive a strong signal to stay tightly closed. But as the stomach becomes less acidic, as the pH creeps higher, that signal weakens. The valves become loose, less reliable, and pepsin gets a window to escape. Now, here's the painful irony. What do most people reach for when they feel heartburn symptoms? Antacids. And antacids work by doing exactly one thing: raising the pH of the stomach, making it less acidic. In the short term, this can blunt the burning sensation and provide temporary comfort. But over the long term, it's making the core problem significantly worse. It's loosening the valves further, creating a very environment that allows reflux to keep happening. This is why people find themselves taking antacids more and more frequently over time. Not because the product stopped working, but because the underlying problem is getting progressively worse. The role of the nervous system. There's another layer to this story that doesn't get nearly enough attention, and it involves a nerve you may have heard of: the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is one of the longest and most far-reaching nerves in the human body. It runs from your brainstem all the way down through your chest and into your abdomen, connecting your brain to your heart, lungs, and digestive organs. It is the primary nerve of the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest system that kicks in when your body feels safe, calm, and at ease. When the vagus nerve is functioning well, it keeps the entire digestive system running smoothly, including the valves that contain stomach acid and enzymes. But when you're under chronic stress, the vagus nerve gets inhibited. The parasympathetic system takes a back seat, and digestion, in every form, suffers. People under chronic stress often notice they can't digest food the way they used to. Meals feel heavy. Bloating increases. Reflux flares up. This is the vagus nerve connection in action. Stress alone can be enough to destabilize your stomach environment. And when you combine it with everything else we've been discussing, the compounding effect is significant. The grazing habit nobody talks about. Of all the lifestyle factors that damage stomach acid levels over time, one of the most overlooked is something millions of people do every single day without thinking: constant eating. Somewhere along the way, we moved away from the traditional model of distinct, separated meals and shifted into a pattern of continuous grazing. Breakfast, then a mid-morning snack, then lunch, then an afternoon snack, then dinner, and sometimes something again in the evening. The stomach is never given a genuine opportunity to rest, recover, or reset. This matters enormously for stomach pH. When the digestive system is in a perpetual state of processing, it never gets the downtime it needs to restore proper acid levels. Acid production becomes sluggish. The stomach environment gradually becomes more alkaline. And as we've now established, a more alkaline stomach means weaker valves. And weaker valves mean pepsin is free to travel where it shouldn't. Add aging into the equation, and the picture becomes even clearer. As we get older, our bodies naturally produce less stomach acid. This isn't a disease, it's a normal part of aging. But it does mean that if you're combining that natural age-related decline with chronic stress, frequent eating, and a habit of reaching for antacids, you are stacking multiple risk factors on top of each other. The valve weakens further, pepsin escapes more easily, phlegm production increases, and you spend your days unconsciously clearing your throat, wondering why nothing you've tried has made any difference. How to tell if silent reflux is actually your problem. Before we get into solutions, it's worth making sure you're dealing with the right issue. Silent reflux isn't the only cause of persistent throat phlegm, so let's quickly differentiate. If your phlegm is coming from postnasal drip, you'll typically notice other signs alongside it: frequent sneezing, an itchy or runny nose, mucus visibly dripping down the back of your nasal passages, or known allergies that flare seasonally. That's a different problem entirely, and it has its own set of solutions. If the source is your lungs, a respiratory infection, bronchitis, or something similar, the presentation is usually very different. You'll have a productive cough, meaning you're actively coughing up mucus in larger amounts. and you'll likely have accompanying symptoms like fever, chest tightness, or significant fatigue. What we're specifically talking about here is different from both of those. It's that low-level, persistent irritation just at the throat, not deep in the chest, not flowing from the nose, where just enough stimulation is happening to keep triggering a mucus response. You clear your throat, feel momentary relief, and then the sensation returns within minutes. That pattern, in the absence of classic cold or allergy symptoms, points strongly towards silent reflux as the root cause. Step 1. Restore stomach acidity. Now, let's talk about what you can actually do about it. The approach here isn't about suppressing symptoms. It's about correcting the root environment so the problem stops recurring. The first and most foundational step is to restore the proper acidity of your stomach. One of the most accessible ways to begin doing this is with apple cider vinegar. Take 1 tablespoon diluted in a glass of water and drink it through a straw before your meals. Using a straw is important. It helps minimize contact with your tooth enamel. Apple cider vinegar is mildly acidic and can help nudge your stomach environment in the right direction before you eat. However, for most people dealing with a significant pH imbalance, apple cider vinegar alone may not be enough. That's where betaine hydrochloride becomes important. Betaine HCl is a natural compound that serves as a precursor to stomach acid, essentially providing the raw material your body needs to rebuild proper acid levels over time. A common starting point is 3 to 4 capsules taken before a meal, though some individuals find they need considerably more before they begin to notice improvement. The dosage can be gradually increased based on how your body responds. One important caveat: if you suspect you might have a stomach ulcer, do not begin using betaine HCl before confirming this. A simple test: if betaine HCl causes increased burning rather than relief, an ulcer is likely present. In that case, a compound called zinc carnosine has excellent evidence behind it for supporting ulcer healing, and that would need to be addressed first. Step 2. Intermittent fasting. This isn't optional. This is genuinely one of the most powerful things you can do for your digestive health. Intermittent fasting, done correctly, gives your entire gastrointestinal system the rest it desperately needs. The approach is straightforward. Reduce your eating window to 2 meals per day and eliminate all snacking between them. No food between meals, no grazing, no late-night eating. By creating real gaps of time where the stomach isn't actively processing food, you allow acid levels to stabilize, valve function to restore, and the overall digestive environment to begin healing itself. If you've never practiced intermittent fasting before, the transition can feel challenging at first. Hunger patterns and cravings are real, and they take time to adjust. But the benefits, especially for people dealing with chronic reflux and phlegm, are significant enough that this step is worth prioritizing. Step 3. Rebuild and heal the tissue. Once you've begun addressing the pH and the eating patterns, the third piece is about giving your body the raw materials it needs to actually repair the damage that has accumulated. 2 nutrients are particularly important here. Zinc plays a direct role in tissue repair and is essential for healing the mucosal lining of the throat and esophagus. The most bioavailable food sources of zinc include oysters, which have some of the highest concentrations found in any food, shellfish more broadly, red meat, and liver. If your diet doesn't regularly include these foods, a zinc supplement is a reasonable alternative. Vitamin A is the second key nutrient, and here I want to offer a specific recommendation. Get it from food rather than supplements. Synthetic vitamin A supplements carry a risk of toxicity when taken in excess because vitamin A is fat-soluble and accumulates in the body. Food sources, on the other hand, deliver it in forms that your body can regulate naturally. The 2 richest and most easily accessible food sources are cod liver oil and egg yolks, both of which provide true vitamin A, retinol, in amounts your body can use without risk of overdose. Bringing it all together, let's take a step back and look at the full picture. You have a microscopic enzyme, pepsin, that is escaping from your stomach through a valve that isn't closing properly. That valve is failing because your stomach's acid level has dropped too low, either due to chronic stress, constant eating, long-term antacid use, the natural effects of aging, or some combination of all 4.
To protect your vocal cords from that enzyme, your body is producing a constant layer of mucus. That mucus is what you feel every time you clear your throat. The solution isn't to suppress the mucus. It isn't to take more medications that further alkalinize the stomach. The solution is to restore the internal environment, raise the acidity, reduce the meal frequency, support
The nervous system, and provide the nutrients needed for tissue repair. Your body has a remarkable ability to heal when the underlying conditions are corrected. The goal isn't to manage this problem indefinitely. The goal is to fix it at the source so it stops happening in the first place. If, after watching this, you're wondering whether sinuses or postnasal drip might be contributing to your situation alongside silent reflux, that's a completely valid question and one worth exploring. The pathways often overlap, and addressing both simultaneously can accelerate your results. There's additional information available that walks through the sinus mucus issue in detail. It's worth checking out if you feel that both areas are affecting you. In the meantime, start with what we've covered here. Acidify the stomach. Give your digestive system space to rest. Rebuild with the right nutrients. The throat clearing that has become background noise in your life doesn't have to stay there permanently. When you fix what's actually driving it, it goes away and it stays gone.